All right, thanks everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Eunice Park. I am the Chief Revenue Officer at Zixi. And with me, I have Mr. Jonathan Solomon from AWS, Senior Partner Solutions Engineer, and then also Kevin Parks from Zixi. He is our Senior Director of Solutions Engineering team as well. So today's session is really more around talking about how our partners, our customer base could potentially be using Zixi Master control plane to demystify things of moving all sorts of workflows in AWS. So we'll continue to kind of explore that discussion today. Before we go ahead and get started, I wanted to talk about the long-standing partnership that we have had between AWS and Zixi. This started in 2014 with our integration with AWS Elemental, and in 2018 we have added the Zixi software-defined video platform within inside of Media Connect. That is a product on AWS. Since then, we also have added the Media Link, CDI, capabilities within our Zixi Master platform, the control plane, along with the integration that we've done on the 5G wavelength zone and many others to come. So with that, I will turn it over to our friend, Mr. Jonathan Solomon. We'll first kind of set the stage of what Media Connect is and some of the challenges that arise within the workflow that we see in AWS, on the AWS cloud. So Mr. Jonathan, tell us a little bit about Media Connect.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me here. So if you're in the media business, you know that media transport is usually a high bit rate and thus high bandwidth, and you want some sort of error correction. Latency can be an issue, but most importantly, you need every packet to get there. You can't resend a packet on a live transmission 3 seconds later. And so what Media Connect does is it builds upon the reliability of protocols and it supports error correction, it supports security, end-to-end security, and it allows any-to-any connectivity. And so we support many protocols, particularly Zixi, as well as RIST and SRT, RTP with FEC. And Media Connect allows you to overcome the limitations of TCP network transport, IP transport. And so it allows you to make that reliable connection over standard internet or private links and get you to, in our case, the cloud, where we can process it for you, or you can use your own solutions to process it, whether that's for B2B distribution, so think of one to a lot of broadcast network distribution, or delivering that to a CDN for one-to-many B2C distribution. So Media Connect is, AWS Elemental Media Connect is a B2B solution to connect endpoints for video between the cloud and ground and cloud. And it offers the ability to do some basic monitoring with our Amazon CloudWatch solution. So you can see network connectivity, basic TR profile information, and see some monitoring. It's typically set up on our AWS console or through command line, so it's a very robust tool. And much like the rest of the AWS services, it's offered by AWS. It's a managed service, meaning that we take care of all the heavy lifting, and it's part of our infrastructure that many of our customers use to build upon for their solutions.
So one of the things that we see or we hear from our joint customer base, pick your tier one broadcaster or other M&E partners of ours, joint partners of ours, is it starts in the point-to-point side of the house, and then that point-to-point solution becomes a many-point to many-point, anywhere to anywhere. And so as these workflows get very complex and very difficult to manage, we have seen customers asking more of a real-time need. So tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that we are seeing within our customer base of real-time monitoring, having a true control plane to allow visibility and rich telemetry from source to target. What have you seen or what have you heard from our customer base?
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? It's if you go back many years and you look at the traditional transmission methods of initially copper circuits and then satellite and then fiber, there was a lot of monitoring that was entailed, and that was done by the by your NOC or your TOC, right? Your network operations, terminal operations team. And at the time, if you go back 15, 20 years, it was a manageable amount of signals. And so you just watched all your screens and you had error probes in there. Today, we're looking at customers that have tens, hundreds, thousands of feeds originating or being distributed. Many times it's tens to thousands. And it's hard to monitor that, and AWS offers tools to sort of enable that, but people really want to see a way to look at video that's going through the system, monitor by exception, be alerted when there's an issue set by a threshold, and be able to actually have a good interface to manipulate those streams, whether it's a start, stop, configure, schedule. And so at AWS, we rely on our partners a lot to bring enhancement to our standard features. And that's where Zixi's really come in with Zen Master. And it's really, we're going to talk about Marketplace in a little bit, but I was really excited to see that it was available on our Marketplace in June. We worked together to do that, to make it easier for our customers to start using Zen Master.
So thank you, Jonathan, for that. Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you. As you know, at Zixi, our focus has been, it's really about demystifying these very complex video supply chain workflows within our ecosystem. So we have been creating essentially a control room in the cloud to really provide that answer and that solution to our broadcast customers. So give us an overview of what Zen Master is and how it's currently being utilized today, and we can talk about some of the workflows that we're seeing being adopted by our customer base.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Eunice, and thanks, Jonathan. So Zen Master is Zixi's control plane. It's, you see some screenshots of it up there. It's an end-to-end control plane. You can control every element all the way from sources through the cloud to your target destinations. And as Jonathan said, Jonathan explained how powerful Media Connect is. Aspects of Media Connect are actually built on some Zixi software. And so Zen Master natively can control Media Connect. It's built in from the start. So that allows you to do things, to have this purpose-built control plane for media workflows, right? We're in the media business. In the media business, you like to see the video. You actually want to see what's being transmitted, and you want to monitor it and know end-to-end that it's being delivered to your customers. So with Zen Master, you can do things like what's shown on the far right there. You can build dashboards really easily, and so what's shown there are these. It's kind of a penalty box view of a bunch of Media Connect flows in this case, and then if something goes wrong, you can set error levels and thresholds for warnings and airing, and then alerting, and get kind of an NOC view. If you do a bit more integration with Zixi, you can actually see the live video and do the grids like what's shown up there. And again, it's totally flexible. You can add as many of those as you want across all your different workflows. You can set thresholds for errors, same kind of thing. And then what's also shown is you can see your whole workflow. So Zen Master will draw diagrams like that one for you, and they're not just a picture, they're active diagrams. So if you have anything in error, and that workflow seems to have a lot of things in error, but things will turn red or yellow based on warnings, and you can drill down into those and see what's going on and fix them. And the point is too that it's not just monitoring of Media Connect, it's natively built into it, so you can control and manage and enable and disable and do every aspect of managing Media Connect through Zen Master.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. So what I wanted to show on this slide is a true supply chain, left to right, end-to-end component here. Do you mind talking about that orchestration components? Because I'm sure most of our customers here, or most of our audience members, they've heard of Media Connect. They're probably utilizing Media Connect. So as that workflow continues to grow, how would one go ahead and architect this from a Zen Master angle? So it has many different components of AWS, right, of the live solution stack. But what does that look like with Zen Master as an overlay, as a true control plane from source to target?
Sure. So what's shown here are all the different sorts of sources we support today. And what Eunice is getting at is that within Zen Master, you can actually go in and create these sources, monitor them, turn them on, turn them off, and build a whole workflow. So there's a number of different types of sources shown here. The elemental link is shown on the top. That's a really cool little box. I don't know, Jonathan, do you want to talk about the link for a second?
Yeah, I can talk about a couple of these things, and then we'll come back to you for the orchestration. So Elemental Link is a drop-down SDI, HDSDI encoder, and the cool thing about it is once you provision it, you plug it in and it just connects and it starts streaming to our Elemental Media Live. So it gets your SDI video or HDMI video right into the cloud, frustration free. Once it's set up and programmed, and of course it does use a Media Connect with Zixi underneath it to bring that in. So you have that reliability. We also see on here Elemental Live, which is a rack mount encoding solution. So that can do pretty much every format you're looking to bring in, to encode and bring to the cloud. And then we'll talk a little bit later about the wireless down there, about 5G MEC. Yeah, so we initiate these feeds, whether it's on our AWS equipment or on any Zixi supported encoder, which is there's plenty, and we bring that into the AWS cloud and hand it back to you for monitoring.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan. So yeah, so you can control, create, monitor all those different aspects and build entire workflows. And for example, the AWS Elemental Live encoder, that's one of the first integrations we did. So that it's like Jonathan said, it's a rack mount encoder. It has a Zixi SDK in it. So you can come into that in multiple formats, encode it or transcode it to whatever format you need, and then use the Zixi SDK to connect directly up to Media Connect into your cloud workflow. But what's really cool about that device in particular is that it's also Zixi Master integrated. So not only can you manage that transmission path, you can actually go right into that device and pull up the UI of that device and set whatever encoding parameters or whatever else you need to do to really manage the device. So in terms of orchestrating an end-to-end workflow, it's everything from setting up the source parameters, setting up the source device, sending it up via Media Connect into the cloud. We are also integrated with Media Live directly, so from within Zixi Master you can build Media Live transcode workflows and then publish those out to Media Store or via Media Connect to other endpoints. So really the full end-to-end workflow, whether it's like a B2B workflow out to a MVPD or a B2C workflow where you're transcoding and sending things directly to consumers.
One of the other questions that I wanted to touch upon is, and this will go to the next slide, right now you're kind of exemplifying customers who use the current services today. For customers who want a little bit more of a deeper dive into that telemetry, some of that, the AM machine learning, health score aspects of the video, of the video telemetry, what optionalities are there for customers who are looking for more of that? As you know, we have our own broadcasters. You BYOB, you bring your own broadcasters, roll it into AWS. So can you talk a little bit more of that for other customers who might be interested in more enhanced telemetry?
Yep, sure thing. So again, as Jonathan explained, we're totally integrated with Media Connect, and we can pull information from CloudWatch and display that. But if you take one extra step, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, if you take an extra step of deploying a Zixi broadcaster, which is our core software, if you deploy the Zixi broadcaster in the same VPC wherever your Media Connect work is or your Media Live workflow, if you deploy a broadcaster in that same VPC, you can then put those sources up to the broadcaster as well, and then you get a lot more information. So that's where you can actually see like a live thumbnail of the video that is updating every few seconds, or you can actually play the video itself via VLC or via WebRTC. You get all sorts of additional metadata, things like a VMAF score on how well the sources are actually encoded. You get tons of information on the whole PID structure for the MPEG-2 transport stream, and that's important for seeing things like if you need your English audio on a particular PID and your Spanish audio on another PID, you would see all of that. If you have SCSI-35 information in that signal, you could see that it's there present on the right PID, and you can also actually go in and see the SCSI messages, to see the syntax, make sure that they're correct, and you can set alarms on all that. If you're expecting SCSI and it's not there, you can alarm on that. And then, like Eunice mentioned, there's live predictive health score. So we have, that's another whole long topic, but we have what we call our intelligent data platform that takes the telemetry data that's carried within the Zixi protocol, and it takes that across all of the Zixi streams basically, and applies AI and ML modeling to that, so that we can do things like monitor the health of something and predict problems before they actually happen.
If I just add to that, as I mentioned, we do have some basic monitoring through CloudWatch, and you see that on the left, right? And it's very basic, and that's what's really great about Zixi and ZenMaster as a partner. They've built on that, and they've used their specialty and their knowledge of video streaming, IP streaming to pull out the information that a NOC or a typical NOC or TOC would want to see, and present that in a way that is either all clear or exception based, and it really helps to look at these massive amount of feeds, or even one or two feeds, and brings that to the level of a typical operator, right? We know the operators in our customers are not builders, they're not developers. They just want to be able to click a link and see what's going on, and that's really one of the great benefits about this is it abstracts the underlying AWS infrastructure and brings it into a UI, a user interface that anyone with knowledge of the media transport domain can understand.
I appreciate that, Jonathan. One thing I wanted to ask real quick on the workflows before we sum up the benefit slide and talk real quick about the AWS marketplaces. At a high level, could you talk a little bit about the 5G wavelength zone partnership? Because that's another workflow that is very unique on the partnership level, and would love for you to just do a showcase real quick on that.
Yeah, so let me baseline what we're talking about here. So I think everyone here is familiar with 5G, the next generation of mobile connectivity. The advantages of 5G are advertised as a low latency and high bandwidth. That sounds perfect for video, right? We all want that, and so part of the way to achieve that in applications, whether it's watching your favorite OTT streaming platform or remote production with acquisition via 5G and distribution via 5G, is what's called MEC, multi-access edge compute, and that's computers that are running within the wireless network. And so AWS has a partnership in the US with Verizon, and we have several other partnerships worldwide with a product called Wavelength. And Wavelength is AWS infrastructure, compute and storage, in the wireless carrier's data center. So when you're running an application like Broadcaster, in a wavelength zone, Broadcaster actually has an IP address that's on the same network as the mobile devices. So there's no latency in the application. The latency is only on the wireless network, and that allows us to really do production in the cloud. So you guys did some great stuff with a common customer. I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jonathan. The common customer is Bloomberg. We've done a lot of testing with Bloomberg and on deploying workflows via 5G and via the MEC. And really what we've shown is incredible low latency. You can achieve hundreds of millisecond kind of latency, and both contribution and distribution workflows over 5G.
With ZenMaster as the control plane, as the overlay. Yes. Great. So we are kind of at the end of our time, y'all. It was a pleasure. One thing I did want to reemphasize, and Jonathan, I think you might want to sum up this one. Again, we have a deep partnership with our friends at AWS. We are fully in AWS's marketplace today, and you can continue to purchase ZenMaster from Marketplace, or you can purchase our Broadcaster SDVP with ZenMaster in Marketplace. Anything you wanted to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, if you're unfamiliar with Marketplace, it's a place to find tested and validated solutions as AWS customers. So you don't need to. You're, of course, welcome to reach out to our friends at Zixi and buy direct, but if you want to just make it part of your regular bill, AWS bill, you can just go right into Marketplace. You can search Zixi, and you can try it today and make it work. We have a lot of our partners doing that. So look, we're really proud to be a partnership with Zixi. They're really an enabler for our broadcast customers, and all of our media customers, to be honest, and it's just really been great to see the progression over the last couple of years.
Well, that's it. We appreciate your time. Thank you, NIB. And if you have any questions, we'll be around to answer. Thank you.